All right, great to be with you. We have Deb Huband here today from the University of British Columbia. Thanks for joining us, Deb.
My pleasure to be here, spend time with you and VK.
Fantastic. So let's go back to, you have one of the more illustrious careers in CIS basketball, but let's go back to high school. When you started in high school, yeah, we're going way back. When you started, where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about what basketball was like and what other sports you kind of played back then.
All right. Well, I was a Quebec, Ontario, and New Jersey product. So that's where I lived before I moved out to Vancouver. And I loved every sport. I loved everything. I played from soccer to field hockey. I was a gymnast. I was a swimmer, competitive swimmer. Basketball, volleyball, tennis, you name it. I loved it. I played everything going, everything I could. And then I think, as you get older, you start to focus in a little bit more on the sports that really captivate your interest and where you want to spend your time. And my big dilemma was, I forgot softball. I was a provincial team fastball back catcher back in the day. So that had my interest. Volleyball had my interest. Basketball had my interest as sort of primary sports. So I'm a proponent of multi-sport, develop your athleticism when you're younger and then refine as you get older.
So then you finish high school, you end up going to Bishops. Tell us about that back then. The lady who runs our business, she actually played at Bishops as well. So I'm a little bit familiar with the program. They're starting to win again, which is nice. Tell us what it was like to play there back then.
Okay, well, I was in Quebec at the time, so I went from high school, which finished in grade 11, to Cégep, which is like a junior college stepping stone, sort of finishing high school, but also the beginning of the university. So I did that. Then I actually went to Concordia for a year, and I played with some all-time Canada greats in Sylvia Sweeney and Liz Silcott, which was amazing. And then I transferred to Bishops for 3 years. So I played in the Quebec conference and, really enjoyed it. We were quite successful. We always represented the Quebec conference at nationals, but we were a very small school at that time. We had, around 1,000 to 1,500 students, so a very small group, but a very athletic campus at that time. So our teams did quite well, and it was a great experience.
And how are your teams there? Did you do well? I know you had the all-time highest point total in a game at one point, so that you obviously were putting up some pretty good numbers. What were your teams like?
Our teams, we were all provincial team players at the time. So a lot of people who played in Quebec and represented Quebec on the provincial team. Clubs weren't very big at that time. It's changed a lot, but at the time it was provincial team players. We had, I think the most we ever had on our roster was 10 because it was such a small campus. But we did have a couple men that practiced with us, which I think, in hindsight was a really beneficial thing to play against men in that practice environment. I know now we try to have practice squads that our men are very good quality women that supplement your practice environment. So we were a very, very good team. We were a dynamic team, a quick team, a tenacious team. We always got to national championships. We never were able to sort of get over the hump in my era and against the big dogs, the bigger schools. Although, we would win consolation finals and things like that. And then, but it was a start of the change of that program. And then Lynn Polson followed, Andrea Blackwell followed, a bunch of national teamers, Cynthia Johnson followed, and then they were able to win national championships just shortly after I left.
Yeah, I mean, it always takes a little bit of time. You got to build it up, and then it's always, quite frankly, I remember when Elgin Park won the championship, Stu didn't have his daughter on the team. He coached the year after. He already built it up, right, but he couldn't win with his group. He had to win with the group after. So that's always
takes time.
So You finished playing at Bishop's. What happens next?
Well, I was really lucky. I had a great national championship tournament where Bishop's won the consolation final. And I was actually the MVP of the national championships, which was unheard of to be from the winning team. And that led to an invitation to try out for the national team. So that sort of was a springboard into my journey as a national team player that spent 11 seasons. And so that overlapped a little bit with Bishop's. And then I decided after I got my undergrad in psychology at Bishop's, then I moved out to Vancouver and went to UBC for a master's in science and audiology and speech language pathology. So I came out, did my master's, still trained as a national teamer for a couple years out here, and then I became a speech and language pathologist. So that's my sort of life pre-basketball coach.
Yeah, no kidding. How
I know that part.
what got you to come to Vancouver to go to UBC when you were on the East Coast for your whole life, pretty much? I mean, what made you make that transformation?
Well, I wanted to change. I wanted something different. My sister had moved out to BC and to Vancouver, so I had somebody that I was very close to out here, and I just wanted a new challenge, a new opportunity. So I had applied to a number of master's programs across the country, got accepted at UBC, and another good friend, actually, the Scrub Brothers' mom, Diane Murphy, was a very good friend of mine and a teammate at Bishop's, and we both came out here, and she was in engineering and I was in my master's of science, and it was just basically a new challenge, a new opportunity, try something new. It was going from a very small undergraduate school to a very large campus that offers anything and everything. So that kind of blew my mind, sort of the change in demographic, size, everything.
So as your story goes, it goes as very similarly to a lot of our athletes that we've interviewed. You kind of just roll with the punches, and then an opportunity presents itself. So you do 11 years on the national team, and then you end up getting the job as the coach at UBC. How did that come about? And you obviously went and got your master's, so you had some specific goals that you wanted to achieve, and then head coach of the basketball team pops up. How does that correlate, and how'd you get there?
It is a bit of a long and windy road.
They usually are.
Yeah. Well, because of my basketball background as a player, there were opportunity knocked at my door for various coaching roles with, locally with provincial teams and regional teams, but also with other universities. But I was invested. I did my master's. I was a speech and language pathologist, so I wasn't quite ready to reconsider my career. But I think over time, I had the opportunity. I coached with Bev Smith for a year at UBC when we both retired from the national team, and she took that job and really twisted my arm to be her assistant. And so because she was such a good friend of mine, I accepted that opportunity and coached with her for a year at UBC. And then she went back to play pro and to play pro in Italy and with Canada basketball again for a whole other quadrennial and Olympics. And then the job became open, and UBC pursued me at that time. I wasn't ready for it, so I turned it down. And then the job came up again, maybe 5 years later. And at that time I thought, I don't know why I kind of stepped away from the opportunity, because I'm so passionate about sport. I understand the benefit of sport and the gifts that it offers you in your journey. And maybe because it seemed too natural to me, I felt like I needed to take another challenge. But I found my way back. And then from there, I had many opportunities to coach with Canada basketball. It's just been a fabulous full circle journey, really.
Yeah, for sure. So when you get there, what are some of the core? So whenever a coach takes over a team, they obviously want to impart some of their beliefs on the program and kind of set their groundwork. When you got going, what were some of the core things that you were like, okay, this needs to be what we're about. This needs to be what we're trying to do. What were some of those things?
Well, you're always influenced by people who've coached you for things that you value and you think you want to do, and for other things you think, I don't want to do that. So you come with those kind of learnings. But I've always been someone who wants to be the best they can be. I embrace hard work, dedication, discipline, commitment, effort, team play. So all these things are fundamental to kind of my values and who I am. So, I was just kind of trying to take that forward. And then one of the parts I love most about coaching is an opportunity for young people to learn, to grow, to develop, to come into their own, to gain confidence, to get their footing. So I wanted to provide a program that I thought could really be beneficial for a young woman to walk into. So, taking great pride to be thoughtful and about, the full person. What does a young female athlete need as far as opportunity to learn, opportunity to grow? And then, when you're coaching at university, kids are 17 when they come in and they're 22 when they leave. And that is a huge, hugely important time of their life where they go from independent youngsters in a family to getting their footing as independent people stepping into the world. And so to me, university is kind of that bridge between, being a dependent person in your family unit to being an independent person ready to take the next step. So, all those kind of things are in my mind, and just having walked the path myself and understanding, the importance, but also the opportunity. I wanted to make sure that was what was there at UBC for people who wanted to come.
Absolutely. And so you start to build the program, you guys start to win a little bit more. Who was that first recruit that kind of changed the quality of the team to take you guys to the net? Like who helped you make that first jump when you were getting going?
Well, it's interesting because, even though UBC has an amazingly long tradition of excellence, like back to the 1930 World Championship team, and then through the late 60s and 70s when they won multiple national championships and at least half the roster was national team players. And then it then went through a bit of a dry patch after that. And then it was definitely in a rebuild where, UBC at that time when I was taking over was just starting to shift maybe from just an academic place, go there for a good school, to go there, for good education. But hey, they also, have good athletics programs. So it was just sort of at the cusp. A little bit of the change had occurred with Bev and a little bit of the change had occurred with Misty, but it was still not quite there. So I think, it was brick by brick. It wasn't like wave the magic wand, and it wasn't like I walked into a program that was already in position to win. And I would say that one of the first recruits that I thought, okay, we're moving in the right direction was Charmaine Adams. Do you remember Charmaine?
I've heard about her. I never got to see her.
From McRoberts, yeah. She was like a very intelligent player, 6-foot point guard. But it just flowed after that. And, I think that group of 6 that came in as rookies in Erica McGinnis's year that was the first year we won. So we actually got over the hump and actually won Canada West, which was always difficult in the context of Kathy Shields and UVic. But we won Canada West, and then we went to nationals and won at nationals the first time that I had been there and my teams had been there. And so, a few people were already there, like Carrie Watson, now Carrie Watts. She was a dominant player. Sheila Townsend, Kelsey Blair, Lita Beck. There were a lot of them. And then, in comes Erica McGinnis and Julie Little and Kate Haggerty, among others. And now you have enough depth to get over the hump. So there are a lot of people. It's not just one person, as we all know with teams, but and then it takes some momentum and some change. And so it was a lot of people rolled up their sleeves and made that happen.
for sure. Now, you mentioned there that you had to get over the hump, and then you ended up going to the nationals and you winning the national championship. What was kind of, do you think, was getting in the way of getting you guys there? And then what did it take to actually take it to the next level and get that national championship?
Well, I think just having the depth, having enough quality players that you could compete with other teams that have depth. I mean, there were some really good teams in Canada West. Victoria was a really good team at the time. Calgary was a good team at the time. Regina as well. And so, you know, with only 8 berths, I mean, there's 8 berths to your national championship, and, you know, 1 goes to host, and at that time 1 goes to wild card, and you have to have at least 1 from each conference. It's stingy. It is an accomplishment to get there. And so, and you need enough depth to do it. And you need, you know, some luck as well. You need to be resilient. You need to be healthy. The season is long. I think we had great chemistry. I think we had belief. I think the girls that we had at that time really enjoyed competing, really enjoyed coming to practice, and found ways. And sometimes it was different people. Like, you know, for a good team, it's not always the same person doing, you know, doing the damage. It's usually, on a good team, it can change from, you know, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different people on any given night. So we finally had that kind of depth, I think.
Totally. And so, you know, when I was talking about to Erica McGinnis on this before, I was telling her the thing I appreciated the most about her game is that, you know, when I would go, I wasn't really paying that much attention, but I would go to an occasional game, and I noticed that her game continued to elevate every year while she was there, and it really helped take her game to the next level. And so, you know, you win that first one, got to be a huge relief for all the people that have come before you, and for yourself, for your team, and for the kids who actually put in that time and got it done. Then you've got that group, and although you won with some older kids, some of the greatest players in the history of UBC were actually in the younger age. So what was it like having to reposition the following year and the year after and the year after? So you had another 4 years with those kids, and getting them to refocus and want to do it again.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a competitive group. You know, they really liked winning, as we all did. So, you know, and we went on with that group to win 3 times in 5 years. So, you know, we were fortunate to be able to carry the core of that group through. We did lose some key people along the way, like, you know, Carrie Watts was in her 5th year when we won. Kelsey Blair was in her 4th year when we won. You know, and then you pick up the pieces. You know, you're recruiting to fill, like we recruit to fill specific needs. We don't recruit just for numbers or for a large roster. We recruit for specific needs that we have and openings that we have in our roster. And I think one of the other important things is that, you know, I said they enjoyed coming to practice and playing the game and doing it together, but they also bought into what we were trying to do. And I think it's really important for any team, is the whole, you know, being all in, buying in, like being, you know, in the same boat, paddling an oar in the same direction. And I think when you get that synergy and when you get that commitment to team and commitment to each other, then great things can happen. I think that's what we found during that time. Yeah,
absolutely. So I've noticed since I started coaching, which, you know, seems like it was yesterday when I started, but it's been 17 years now. I've noticed even in that time frame, the UBC teams, like just the surrounding things around the girls program, like the gear has gotten better, the travel is nicer, the talking to players who played on the teams that I've coached, you know, that they're really well taken care of as athletes. Talk about what it took to set that as a precedence, because when you started, for sure that's not what it was like. And then how is it like, what has it taken to get to that point now where UBC is, you know, arguably the #1 place, you know, for where you would want to go in the country, and then how well they take care of their athletes?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, not only has our program grown, but I think what you're seeing is the commitment that our university, the University of British Columbia, has to athletics on campus, and the commitment that our athletic department has to excellence. Like we want to be the premier program in the country. And we don't just want to say that, but we want it. You have to live it. You have to breathe it. You have to And so going back to, we want to provide the best environment that we can for our student athletes. So, so we have sports science, we have nutritionists, we have sports psychologists, we have, we do ferritin testing, we have lots of bases covered. We have decent meal money. We have sponsorships. We have scholarships. We have alumni mentor programs. It's comprehensive and well thought out. And it's because we care. We care at the university. We care about athletics. Not only do we want to be a strong academic institution, we want to be a strong athletic institution. And I think our history has shown that we are, but it means continual change, continual evolution, striving to do things better and better and better. We have more marketing and promotion, and everything we do, it's what can we do better? What can we add to the resources, whether it's study hall, whether it's tutoring. It's comprehensive and it's thoughtful, and and we also, we take great pride in developing our athletes. You mentioned Erica and how you thought that she got better at university. Well, of course she would get better at university, because that's one of our mandates. We want the kids to maximize their potential. We want the kids to thrive. That's one of the reasons we don't over-recruit, because we invest in our kids. We want to work with our kids. We want to provide, individual workouts, video sessions, opportunities to play. Like it's an investment. It's selective strategic recruiting, and it's investment in who we have. We want them to come in. We want them to be successful on the court, off the court, in the community. We want them to have a great experience. And when they leave, we want them to be good alumni who understand the process, understand the impact that those who came before them have had on them, and understand the impact that they now can have on the people that follow in their footsteps. So I think it's just a big understanding of the importance and the value of an opportunity to go to university, and what that might mean in somebody's life.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. One of the things you guys have done, which I don't think enough universities do on a personal, I'm a big endowment guy. I think you need to have a good endowment. I know that you guys, and I know Simon has a very good endowment. They've been working on it really hard for a long time. I'm not sure how many other schools really take it that seriously, but I know for sure that you have. Tell us what it's like to go out and get people to come back and give back, so that you can, the thing I like about an endowment is that it lasts forever, right? It's a forever thing. So when you make a contribution, it's not going anywhere. You're literally enhancing future generations. So talk about what it was like to kind of get that going and take it to the level that it's at now, because I know that's something that you take pride in.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we have a number of endowments, and some have come before my time, and because we do have a long history, and we do have people who really value athletics at university. And we have some newer endowments, and oftentimes they're in honor of somebody who may have passed, and either they or people who cared about that person want to make a contribution to university sports. So we have endowments like the Ruth Wilson Memorial, the Cheryl Kinton Memorial, Mary Campbell, and I think it's even better when people have endowments who are still living, because it's the relationships. I mean, the most important thing is the relationship and the stewarding of the relationship and the building of the relationship. I think that's the bottom line right there. It's the relationship part. And it's, if you've gone through the university student athlete experience, hopefully it's a positive one. And hopefully as you get older, you understand the significance of that time period and the effect and impact it's had on you. And then, as you go through your life, then, some are in a position where they can really give back in a substantial way. And so that's another reason why I think we really value the opportunity, the experience that we can provide. It's not easy. It's not a cakewalk. It's meant to be challenging, because it is such an important part, phase of your life. And not everybody's going to be in a position where they can set up an endowment, but we also have a lot of annual givers. We have our 6-woman monthly giving club, which is, you can contribute $5 a month if you want, but you have, 500 people doing that. It adds up to a substantial amount of money, which can be used for scholarships and other benefits to your team. So there's a lot of different ways that you can impact, some big, some small, but it's relationships and then the experience, valuing the experience and wanting others to have the same.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've had this fantastic career. You had it as a player, then you brought it into coaching. You've gone and won these national championships. You've had some very competitive teams since then. What's left for us? What are we working on the next 2 years? What's the challenge that kind of gets you motivated and excited in the morning?
Well, I don't know. The passion never dies. I don't know what it is about this game and about coaching. It's, some people say, don't you get tired of it? But yeah, it does take a lot of energy, as we know, and it's a 24/7, 365 job. So you have to love it, and it is a lifestyle. But every team is a different team. Every team, there's, team building, individual development. There's challenges that come with trying to, navigate a season. Last year we had, a strong season, came very close to upsetting the eventual national champion.
You're the last game that gave them a good game, actually. Nobody else gave them the game.
Yeah, it was disappointing for us because it was so close. We could taste it, but we didn't get it done. So, our goal is always to be, premier program in the country. And so striving to be the best we can be. We want to be competing for national championships. We want to be, we want our kids to excel in the classroom. We want our kids to be good citizens. So, that continues to motivate us every day. And, obviously right now we're in a big challenge with, learning new tricks to try and, like you are right now talking to us, how do you keep people engaged? How do you motivate people? How do you focus on your learning and growth during this time when it looks very different than what we've done in previous years? So, I'm not quite sure what things are going to look like, but I know we're busy trying to, assist and support, our student athletes, thrive, not just survive during this challenging time, but thrive. So, I think all of us are a little bit, uncertain about what's next, but being optimistic that, we will get back on track somehow and continuing to stay optimistic in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I ask all the people that do this thing is I ask them if you could go back and give young Deb Huband some advice. What would you, as an athlete, while you're still playing, if you could give that girl some advice that you've learned now over this time, what would you tell that young kid?
Well, the whole thing about, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't get caught up in extraneous stuff that is really meaningless. It's hard to do. We all do as people. There's a saying that one of my coaches with the national team, Don McRae, who was a fabulous coach and mentor, he would say, don't keep score. And so I learned that when I was on the national team, don't keep score. And what he meant by that was, when you're traveling to Bulgaria or Romania or Russia and you're in the airport and or you're Cuba, you got to carry your bags, and there weren't wheels in those days, from like one terminal to another. And it's, it's 100 degrees out there. Like, you can't control that. It's extraneous. You could choose to get all caught up. Oh, I can't believe this, and oh, this is that, and why this and why that, which takes energy, takes focus, makes everybody miserable. And that would be an example of, don't keep score. Like, don't spend energy, don't spend focus on those kind of things. Keep yourself focused on your goals. Keep yourself focused on being, the glass is half full. It is not half empty. Having an optimistic, positive outlook. So I think that's really important. And it's all about relationships. I think we get caught up in the me, and we forget about the us, or we forget about, being kind and supportive to other people and appreciative with gratitude of other people. You need your teammates to be a basketball player. You need your family to support you. I think just people in general now are way more, they take time for gratitude. They take time for being in the moment, not thinking too far ahead, not living in the past, living in the now. What can I control now? What can I impact now? How can I navigate now? And then that keeps you a little bit more grounded, a little bit less stressful. I mean, those are all things I think that I've kind of learned along the way that might have helped me a little bit as I was younger. And then the other thing is just my dad's words of wisdom to me were just follow your interests. Like when things were like, I don't know what to do. I don't know, you know, should I study this? Should I study that? Should I go to this school? Should I go to that school? You know, should I still play baseball? You know, follow your interests. Like you're tap into yourself, understand yourself, and make choices that are going to make you happy, give you energy, because it's your life. You are in the driver's seat of your own life. And the sooner we can start to get from the back seat into the front seat, I think the better it is for anyone trying to navigate this complicated world.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. I think get from the back seat to the front seat is probably, you know, one of the better things anyone can say to somebody is like figure out how to take control of the situation. I think, you know, not sweating the small stuff and keep score when you're on the court. You don't need to keep score when you're off the court. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You got to take care of the important things. Well,
yeah, you gotta know time and score when you're on the court.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's not get that screwed. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Another exciting year for you guys coming up. I am excited to see the team with the new recruits you guys brought in, and we'll make sure to have you out there, and we'll take a look at the squad. Thank you so much for coming up.
Yeah, thanks for your time. Appreciate it, and good luck to everybody in your training.
Thank you so much.